Hey y'all, so my name is Selena and I decided to rewind. Okay, so my name is Selena and I've really wanted to do a podcast for a long time, like a really long time. But I got scared, didn't know what I was gonna talk about, didn't really have the confidence to like put my ideas out there. And so then I've just been blessed to come into community with people who challenge me to do the things that I want to do in life. And then because of that, I was faced with the notion of like, okay, the desire to do a podcast happened years ago, but now I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. So it's been months of me like trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about, because that was like, okay, everybody and their mama got a podcast right now and they just chatting. And that's cool, because now we're sharing ideas. That's cool. There's a lot of discourse on the internet. However you want to feel about it is whatever. And so eventually I came to the conclusion of this is what I want to talk about, as you can see from the title. So this podcast is called S.Chronicles. It's gonna be about Project 2025, but it's not only about that. This is just one of the topics I want to talk about. And so rewind to how did I come to the conclusion of this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Project 2025. So like I said, I wanted to start a podcast back in probably like 2016. It's 2024, so it's been 8 years of me like not doing anything with this idea. I can probably say I want to start a podcast since 2013. I used to have like this vision of like, I want to do a podcast with people who had different viewpoints, and I would just get to learn from them. And I was just like too scared to do it, because first off, I didn't even know those kind of people, and then second off, I didn't feel like I knew enough. And I've always felt that way, which is what kept me from starting the podcast. Flash forward to now. Flash forward to now, but not now. When I left college, I went to college in Virginia for politics, philosophy, and I graduated in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. And once I graduated, the world was a mess. Going to the job market was a mess. I have an international politics degree, so studying abroad was not a possibility due to COVID. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was also kind of like exhausted with hearing about political things. I'm going to be honest, what a privilege it is to feel exhausted enough to tune out. That's what I did. I just tuned out. It was like, for the past 4 years, it's really just been me like popping in on stuff like, y'all still going? We still here? The country ain't blow up yet? All right. And I kept going. I obviously, if you're on social media, you can't ignore what's really happening outside, but you can just choose not to engage it, not to study it, and not to react to it. And that's kind of the approach I've taken. So I do have a degree in politics. I'm very fascinated. At one point, I was never interested in American history or U.S. politics. I find that now I'm more interested, just because I'm aware of the fact that, hey, I live here. But over the past couple of years, I just kind of felt like I don't know what's going on anymore, and that's my fault. I wasn't paying attention. So this is an election year, and one thing that I have been encouraged and I've been told is that presidential elections don't matter nearly as much as local elections, as your gubernatorial election, as your mayoral elections. However, there's a lot of fuss about this next election. And I realized I don't even know what's going on. Either way, I don't know what's going on. So in understanding that, I came back to the conclusion wow, it's been 8 years and I still don't feel like I know enough to talk about nothing. And it became clear maybe that's the talking point you need to start from. So I'm starting from the fact that I know stuff about politics. I know stuff about American history. I know stuff about government. I don't feel like I know nearly enough. And so that's why I'm going through Project 2025, because I'm super interested in the fact that there is this mass campaign for everyone to be afraid. Y'all, I've seen people post and say, hey, if Trump wins, y'all, we're basically going to be back on the plantation. I said, look, I'm going to read this document, y'all, and I'm going to document it. That's what this podcast is about. I am hard pressed to find proof that we will be back on the plantation if he wins. My goal is I will finish this document before the election. I genuinely doubt that that's what's going to happen, but that's even a possibility. And also because at this point I'm recording, so I read it. I've read parts of it at this point. I have not read all of it. I've read pieces of it. So yeah, so that's what this first episode is about. Just want to tell you who I am and why I'm doing this video. And so I'm actually going to get into what I've read about Project 2025. I have notes. I'm not going to sit here and just talk off the top of my head. Like, I've seen other people's videos about this. Okay, first of all, before we even get into that, this document is 1,000 pages. So when people, this is actually why I decided to do a video. This document is 1,000 pages. It is 920 pages to be exact. So the fact that people are making like 3-minute videos about it is mind-blowing. It is literally mind-blowing. Because, and that's just it. It's just a 3-minute video. And I'm like, how did you... There's so much content here. So that's also why I'm walking through it, because I'm gonna see for myself. So let's get into it. What is this document even about? So the key points that I got from the beginning is this project has multiple contributors. One thing that a lot of people are talking about is, scratch that. Let me just go through all the points. I'm gonna go through all the points and then I'm gonna make my commentary. So key points. This project has multiple contributors. I think there are well over 100 contributors. Someone can fact check me. There are well over 100 contributors. Many of them, we're going to save that for later. This project has multiple contributors. The project is spearheaded and led by the Heritage Foundation. Like I said, many contributors, part of different foundations, but the biggest contributor and the leader behind this project is the Heritage Foundation. It is not the Trump administration. It is not the Republican Party. It is the Heritage Foundation. The plan style has been done before. So this whole like mandate, it's called mandate something. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. It's called mandate something. This mandate actually was done, like a very similar mandate was done in the 1970s. The purpose of this is an immediate game plan to execute once a conservative president enters into office. So if you guys don't remember, because it happens once every 4 years, the first thing people are looking at is what's the first 100 days going to look like for a president. So this is so that they have a game plan to execute those first 100 days, because typically a president will come in and they don't have a game plan of what to do for the first 100 days until like the first 30 days are over. So that's the purpose of the plan. Like, let's just be clear. That's the purpose of the plan, so they can actually move effectively if or when, I was going to say when, because yeah, we see what's happening outside. A Republican candidate wins. I say we see what's happening outside. That's a video for another time, because I have a theory about something that just happened. Anyway, so that's pretty much that, right? The next thing is there are 4 promises that are like the foundation of this entire project. There are 4 promises that are the foundation. The first promise is, keep it short and sweet. The first promise is to restore the family, like to restore the importance and the sovereignty of the American family unit. The second promise is to dismantle the administrative state. The third promise is to defend the nation. And the fourth promise is to secure the rights and the Constitution in the U.S. So here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to walk through the promises first. And today I'm just going to get through the promise number 1. I think promise number 1 was really interesting. Disclaimer, always read things for yourself. Always read things for yourself. No, like I said, I am going to take the challenge of reading a 1,000-page document, 922 pages, whatever. You don't have to do that, but if I say something and you think is interesting, please don't run with it. Please go and read it for yourself. As a matter of fact, I will be reading passages of it in other content, because I think the language is like super important. But anyway, what does promise number 1? So promise number 1 is to restore the family unit. Key points, highlights, takeaways, whatever you want to call them. Centralization of political power subverts and weakens the family. Government shouldn't and does not replace community. The center of the community is the American family unit. Government can't control or fix the family, and the breakdown of the family unit is the pinnacle of most of our community problems. Policy going forward must align with affirming family development, not punishing it. So part of that, and I have to say this now, is the removal of diversity, equity, and inclusion language that is misaligned with familial goals. So and topics of honorable mention, my nose is itchy, I'm sorry. Topics of honorable mention include big tech, CRT, pornography, Roe v. Wade, and transgenderism. They mention these things by name and why they're a problem and a threat to the family unit, and they have explanatory breakdowns. They also include that I believe anywhere from 40 to 70%. Sorry, I read this a little bit ago, so that stat might be a little skewed. I'm going to put it in the caption about it, what it specifically says. But 40 to 70% of homes in America are being raised by single mothers, and so the family unit in America is broken. Now, I really wanted to get through all 4 promises in this one video, and then I realized how long it took me to break down that one promise, and I was like, oh my God, we're not gonna do that today. So this, I'm just gonna tell you, like, I'm just gonna react to like the rest of the stuff that I just shared with you, because I personally, man, is it interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting. Starting with, okay, the project has multiple contributors. I'm gonna start from the top, and then I'm gonna just react top down, just like I just gave it to you. The project has multiple contributors. So one thing that led me to even want to look at this is the fact that people kept saying, like, Trump is a part of this, Trump knows what this is, da da da. And I was like, yo, I don't even know what this is. What is this document? In fact, if you're watching this video, Google Agenda 47, because that's the next thing I'm gonna look at after I finish this, is Agenda 47. Trump is not actually like, I read through the list of contributors, and unless, you know, I wear glasses and I missed it, he's not a contributor to this document. Has he seen it? It's possible he hasn't. Agenda 47 is Trump's platform and his game plan should he win the presidency. And the one thing you'll hear people say is, well, all his advisors were a part of it. Yeah, because many people who share the same belief systems run in the same circles. They run in the same circles. So there are people who were on his advisory committee his last election who are a part of the Heritage Foundation, and the other 100 odd contributors who created this document. So yeah, if you think that he has a say in this document or has a stance on it, check his, like, this is my strong recommendation. Check his Agenda 47 plan and just skim the table of contents of just skim it. Skim the table of contents, because personally, when I looked at it, they looked very similar, but I wouldn't put it past the fact that he's using the same advisors who wrote the same advisors who helped him write Agenda 47 probably also wrote Project 2025. That doesn't inherently mean that he's read it, and it doesn't mean that he's aligned with it. Because there's some stuff that I feel like I saw in his plan that are not listed in the contents of Project 2025. So that's my take on that one. I only have one. So the purpose of this is an immediate game plan to execute once a conservative president is elected. I saw that. That's like written verbatim in the document. Almost verbatim, it's written in the document. And I saw that and I thought, okay, what is the problem with this plan? I feel like in my weak observation of politics over the past, I would say 8 to 10 years, I feel like people just been winging it. So principally, as a person living in America that's just kind of watched 2 presidents wing it, I am inherently not opposed to somebody coming forth with a plan. Just, I'm not, my hackles are not raised. I'm not stressed. I'm not upset. I'm pretty okay with somebody coming with a plan, because we need a plan. We need a plan. I'm just like, I'm not going to say what needs to be in the plan, but if you going to come forth with a plan. Okay. The promises. Okay. So the promises, I am going to enjoy reacting to this, because these, oh man, and getting the quotes. Stay tuned. Watch for the part 2, which is where I go through some quotes on the promise and react to them. Because what? Anyway, let's just talk about restoring the family. So centralization of political power subverts and weakens the family. You guys, like, I have had that theory for a long time. I am currently working, I'm going to put this down because this is probably the only point I'm going to get through, like, clearly, because I feel like this video might go too long. And yeah, anyway, I have always had this theory that, like, people treat government like it's God. And I think that that's weird. And I think that that's gross. And I think that that's inappropriate. But people treat government like it's God. And it's not. Like, government is just going to solve all your problems. The inherent function of government, especially in the United States, was just to like arbitrate problems that we couldn't figure out on our own. That's like one. Arbitrate problems that we can't solve on our own. Two, especially at the federal level, like, I think people in America forget that America was designed to be a bunch of little mini countries. Like, I live in New England. There are 6 different states, and all of us have different cultures and different identities. That's okay, because we're all supposed to be like 6 mini countries. I don't know if you've never heard this. People say Texans love Texas more than they love America. As weird, I'm going to use that word weird, as some people may think that is. That actually makes sense, because Texas is your little mini country. That's your little mini piece of America. That's your American identity. When it comes to the world stage, we're all American. But when it comes to the United States, oh, you're a Texan. You're a Floridian. You're a New Yorker. You're a Californian? Is that the word? Alabamian? I don't know what you people are called. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't know what you guys are called. But like, that's your own little mini country. So the authority of leadership in America is not big government, and it was never meant to be. It was always supposed to be as small as possible. So the idea that conservatives, people who value the Constitution, which is one of the promises, is to basically restore power to the Constitution, they're trying to put power back in the smallest form of community and authoritative unit, which is the family, kind of makes sense to me. Because what this has led to is hyper government dependency, which is the administrative state. And so I'm like, hearing that, I was not put off. A project I was just commissioned to work on is how to help women get off of welfare. And the guy who commissioned me to work on this project tells me the story of growing up and having his parents be separated so that his mom could still get welfare benefits while still wanting to be with her partner. And at the time, it was illegal for her to actually be married and have a stable man in her life and still receive benefits. That's counterproductive for proper family development. One, because you just basically said, get your man out the way, I'm gonna do his job, and don't you dare even think to let him come and try and do his job. And yes, I said it. Like, you're her partner in raising the family, and you're a man. That's your job. Help her raise that family. Y'all decide to lay up and have kids together. That's your job. It's simple. So when you basically push him out and say, oh, if you want assistance because times are hard, he can't be here at all. Not, oh, even like the income cap. The income cap on someone receiving benefits is not as bad as the requirement that a man cannot be present. Because the income cap stifles human capacity. The lack of the barrier of male presence breaks up a family. And that's not like, oh, that's what I heard. That's someone's lived experience. It's actually experience I've heard from multiple people who are at least 40 and above. That was their mother's experience with being on welfare. They could not have a man in the home. And as a matter of fact, in the document, that's one of the things that's listed as that will be removed from the law, is having a part of welfare be to break up the home and to disempower two-parent homes. So I'm not even gonna say I don't know. That don't sound like a problem to me. It doesn't sound like a problem to me. And when we think about, I just want us to think about, what does it really mean to have a two-parent home? Many people had this whole trauma awakening and personal development and therapy season throughout COVID, where they understood that things were like internally hurting them. It is not a secret. It is not fake that coming from a broken home where your parents are not together it messes with your identity as a person. It challenges your identity as a person, because the affirmation of a mother and the affirmation of a father is very significant in individual, like, personal development and cultivation and esteem. So I mean, I personally don't take up issue with that point. It's really where you see people kind of having problems with this point is probably in the deeper breakdowns. And I say people, notice I did not say me. People may have problems with this in the deeper breakdowns. Which is, okay, I don't know if that whole point was clear, but yeah, the over empowerment of government, it like takes this role of God and then also takes this role of father in the community, which is weird. I just want to make that clear. I think that that's weird. And I think that it's counterproductive, because government, this is a video for another time. I'm going to stop. This is a video for another time. Yeah, so next thing, center of community is family. I think it's very interesting that people, depending on where you are in America, how connected are you to your community? I currently work with a variety of people, and one thing I realized about these people I'm working with is like none of them have they care about issues in the community, but none of them have actual like bonds, ties, or connections to the community, and most of them come from broken homes. And like they aren't connected to sports teams, they're not connected to community organizations like a Rotary Club, anything like that. And then we all know that there's probably a bunch of data coming out about how technology has made us like super lazy and disconnected, killing social skills, whatever. Y'all, I don't have stats for none of this, so you can challenge me. I don't care. I'm just sharing where I'm seeing this, because there's some interesting stuff going on. We're in a really weird time where people don't know how to be in community with each other. They don't know how to build healthy, deep, and meaningful friendships. People are talking about the marriage and the divorce rate is at 50%, and 80% of them are started by women, but let's figure out why the women suddenly don't want to be married anymore. The family unit in America is like, I think it's indisputably injured, if not broken. So, and I think government has played a role in affirming and enabling that brokenness and not healing it. One thing that I think was interesting that they mentioned in this document was government cannot fix it. And I think their best bet is that if government their best solution is that government will align itself with policies that affirm family instead of trying to take control over the family unit. So, I think that that's interesting, just because you understand that family is bigger. It's cultural. This is like, I think it was Candace Owens, but it was someone who was like, we're in a culture war right now in America. And I thought that was an interesting way to put it. I was like, is that really what's going on? But it's American culture that it really needs to be restored. And a question I remember being asked in college was, does culture influence policy, or does policy influence culture? And it's just this kind of it's actually just like a feedback loop where culture is shifting one way, but also politics is happening one way. So everything feeds back into each other to morph into a new version of reality. And it just keeps feeding back. And whoever's contributing to the feedback gets to really control the narrative. And I think the narrative has been, we need the government to fix it. We need the government to fix it. Go to the government, because we don't have fathers in the home, because we don't have community organizations in the home, because we lack community action processes, because we lack actual family practices, because we lack social skills. So you go to the government because you don't have to have social skills to really go to the government. You have to be able to wear a mask, and you have to have a degree. That's my personal opinion. But like I said, anyway, none of that is really of consequence to you unless you find what I said interesting. If you find it convoluted, I just started, trying to figure this out. Drop a comment below. I look forward to doing dismantling the administrative state and just getting more clear about what the heck these people said that they're trying to do in 2025, and preparing myself to vote, because I'll admit, the last time that I voted, I was kind of like, I know what I'm not willing to tolerate, and I know I'm not playing with, so I voted the way that I voted. And I saw the way other people voted based on fear, and I said, I'm not doing that. That's for the birds. I'm not voting based on fear. So, Yeah, anyway, this is my first time doing this podcast. I'm just as excited about it as I thought I would be recording it, and I look forward, super look forward to recording the next one. Next one, like I said, is going to be on dismantling the administrative state. And that isn't to say, I guess there should have been a better way to close this. I'll figure it out. That isn't to say that this whole podcast, the S.Chronicles podcast, is not going to be about other stuff, because it's really just chronicling me understanding life. I like politics. Politics is like something I find joy in. I enjoy like going through it and making sense of it, drawing connections. I don't mind preparing for it, but I don't want to come off as like super formal about it. So yeah, like, come if you like this, come along for the journey while I try to make sense and regain my footing and gain. I can't even say regain, because I really never had any footing in politics. Like, I never, and when I say footing, I mean like cognitively. Like, I don't feel like I ever truly understood what was going on. So this is just me trying to figure out what's going on, because it's real interesting outside. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you soon with another video. Peace.